You are here because you want to get a job at Trader Joe's. Well, good, you came to the right place. In today's video, I'm going to give you the actual questions you are going to be asked in your interview, and then I'm going to tell you from a recruiter's perspective how to answer them so you stand out as the best candidate possible. This is the unfair advantage you're looking for. Let's go. Now, the first question they're going to ask you at Trader Joe's is, why do you want to work here, or why do you want to work at Trader Joe's? To answer this question, it's pretty simple. You want to use the 50-50 rule. The 50-50 rule is a way to go about answering why do you want to work here for any company. But what you want to do here specifically is you want the first 50% to be about the company. Now, you can pick anything you're interested in. You could talk about the brand. You could talk about what they stand for from an environmental standpoint. You could talk about the experience that you've always had as a customer and how you enjoyed it and you love the environment. And then the second 50% needs to be about why you're a great fit for the role. So think of it two ways. This is what's important to them. They want to know, hey, why do you like us? Why are we the right company for you? So pick something that is real to you. Again, it could be a number of things, but pick something motivating about the company and then tell them why you're a great fit for the role and why hiring you would be a good decision and you are a strong positional fit. If you can do that, you're going to nail it. Okay, so the next question they might ask you is, tell us about your previous role and why did you leave? Now, answering this correctly is a two-parter. First, you need to tell them a little bit about your last role. So you don't want to take forever here, right? You want to be succinct and you want to be effective in your communication. So tell them a little bit about your role, highlighting the parts of the role and the functions of the role that were similar to the role you're applying to. That's the first part. And then you want to talk about you leaving. It is critical here that you do not say anything negative about your past employer, your past teammates, or your past manager. If you do that, you are not going to get this job. Nobody wants to see negativity in an interview. They're not going to want to see it from you. So when you say, why did you leave? What you want to make it about is you want to make it about you and your growth. You left to pursue an opportunity at a different company that provided you with A, B, and C that your job that you left couldn't provide you with, right? So again, no negativity, and make it about your own personal growth, development, and advancement. It's a reasonable thing. Everybody can understand that. If you do that, you're gonna crush that question. Now, the next question is, what is your favorite Trader Joe's product? This would be super easy for me. It would be their verde salsa, which is absolutely delicious. If you haven't tried it, you should try it. The key to answering this interview question is just to have something. It's to be prepared. This is such an easy question, unless you aren't expecting it, unless you don't have something to say. So pick something, talk about why you like it, how much you've, how long it's been a product that you purchased from them. Pretty easy. As long as you have something to say here, you're gonna nail it. Now, the next question is a really interesting one. Tell us about the last time you went above and beyond for someone. Now, two things here. Anytime someone says to you, tell me about a time when, you are being asked a behavioral interview question. A behavioral interview question is basically a recruiter or an HR or a hiring manager's way of using your past behavior to predict what you would be like as an employee. And whenever this is the case, tell me about a time when, give me an example of a time when, you want to use the STAR technique. Situation, task, action, result. What was the situation you were in? What was the specific task you had to perform? What was the action you took? And then result. What was the outcome of everything you did? Sometimes you want to throw an L on the end for lesson. What did you learn? When applicable. So for here, the last time you went above and beyond for someone, you can pick a time where you did it personally, if it makes sense, right? Or what I would probably do is highlight something you did professionally, recently, in your current job, where you went above and beyond for a teammate or a customer. Truly make it above and beyond though. Whenever someone says, tell me a time you went above and beyond, one of the things you can't do is say something that was your job. So as a recruiter, I can say, I had a client, they asked me to find somebody, I found them that person, above and beyond. No, Ben, that is your job. So make sure it's actually above and beyond. If you can do that, you'll do great. The next question is a customer-facing classic. And it's, tell us about the last time you had to deal with a difficult customer. This is important because they know you're going to encounter difficult customers, even at Trader Joe's, and they want to make sure you are up to the task of handling it in a way that is aligned with their brand. So again, tell me about a time when. STAR technique: situation, task, action, result. That is the framework and scaffolding of how you will answer this question. But it's really important here to talk them through your mindset of dealing with someone who is difficult, a difficult customer. So first, you want to make sure that you are hearing them, you're listening to them, and you're hearing them out. You want to make sure they felt heard, right? You're listening to them. Then you want to let them know that, well, I know they're not mad at me, they're mad at the situation. So I didn't take it personally. I listened to them, I wasn't offended. Then you want to talk about how you gained a solid understanding of exactly what went wrong, and then you did your job or went above and beyond your job to fix it. And then the outcome was they were very happy with their experience, and they turned from someone who was angry to someone who is satisfied. So pick an example that fits that criteria. Use the STAR technique: situation, task, action, result, and you'll nail it. But make sure you do that. You were calm. You listened to them to understand exactly where they were coming from. You understood it wasn't about you, it was about the situation, so you weren't offended. You took appropriate action and you resolved it for them and they were happy. If you can do that, you'll answer the question. Now the next question is, tell us about a time that you were a leader in the workplace. This is a really interesting question, and it tells you a little bit about what they're looking for, right? Sometimes when you're asked an interview question, you want to think, well, why? Why did they ask me this question? And clearly, this is because they are looking for people who are going to step up. They're looking for people who are going to act as leaders. So that's important for you to know throughout the duration of the interview process. But again, tell us about a time when. What does that tell you? Well, it tells you, this is a behavioral interview question. So I need to use the STAR method. So when you're talking about being a leader, it doesn't need to be you in a leadership role. Everybody can lead. As an individual contributor, you want to lead. So what you want to do is talk about how you helped an employee, how you led a project, how you led an initiative, but just talk a little bit about the way you did it. It's important to embrace it. Don't be hesitant here. If you go, oh, well, I don't really like to lead or manage people, but this one time I really had the blank. That's going to look bad. They obviously want someone who is willing to do this, or they wouldn't ask. So talk about a time where maybe you had some people who were newer to the role, they needed help, you stepped up and you showed them exactly what to do, and you helped them learn the process until they were proficient. Maybe it was a project that had to take place, and there wasn't someone who was formally the lead, so you decided to step up, take initiative, assign people to different portions, and guide the project through from start to completion successfully. That's another great example. Just remember, use the STAR technique, be positive, embrace the leadership function they expect you to fall in, and you'll do great. So this next question is another team question, and it's, what role do you typically play in a team? This is really interesting to me because clearly, being a good teammate matters to them, teamwork matters to them, and they want to find out where you would typically fit in. For me, as a hiring manager, I think it's really important to find someone who is flexible and can adapt to the situation. So the way I would advise you to answer this question is be truthful, of course, but I think flexibility is key here. So being able to play whatever role is needed in the moment for your team is an incredible asset. Now, sometimes that's someone who can be a little bit of a leader. Sometimes that's someone who could be a mentor, but find something that aligns with you, what you've done in the past, but is also flexible enough to put the team first. So for me personally, I'd say, well, the role I played in the past in my previous teams, I'm often in a leadership seat, but I think it's really important to fit whatever role is needed in that time. Sometimes you're going to need to step up and you're going to need to be a leader, but in other times, they're going to need you to do your job, do it well, and do it repetitively. So for me, it's really whatever the team needs. But I would say what I'm most frequently called upon to do is be in a leadership role. That's a great way to answer this question. Find what makes sense for you, but something along those lines will make you stand out as a great candidate. This next question is a great one. How do you respond to change? Now, this is another, why would they ask me this question moment? And the reason they'd ask you this question is clearly there's a lot of change. There is going to be change coming. And if that's the case, then they need people who are able and willing to change, so you need to be that. So if they ask you the question, how do you adapt to change? Or how do you respond to change? You say, really well. I'm the type of person who actually likes a bit of change, so when things change, I find it exciting, but I think it's important to be able to adapt. When a change happens, you can't fight it. The best thing for you to do is understand, okay, here's what it is now, understand it fully, and then make the change willingly and embrace it. That's the best way, and that's how I like to handle change. Something along those lines are gonna make you sound like an amazing employee who they definitely wanna hire. The next question is a classic customer service question, and it's, how do you define excellent customer service? And the way I would personally go about answering this is I'd probably talk to them and say, you know, for me, that's going to depend on the customer and what the customer needs. So for me, excellent customer service is being available to the customer, doing a great job to find out exactly what it is that they need, what they are looking for, and then exceeding their expectations. Something along the lines of that is going to make you sound great. You can even back it up with an example. So you can say, for example, and then give a time in which you feel you've exemplified great customer service. If you can do that, you will impress them and you will hit it out of the park. The next question is, what is your availability? What hours and days can you work? Obviously, you want to be truthful here. You don't want to say you can work all the time whenever they need and then have a bunch of days where you can't work. But here's the reality. The more flexibility you can afford them when you answer this question, the better off you are going to be as a candidate. If you say, I have an incredibly flexible schedule and I'm willing to work just about any shift, you give them flexibility. Imagine if they're hiring for several shifts, but they're already pretty much booked in first shift, but the second shift they need people. If you say, I'm only working for first shift, and now they're looking more so to hire for second shift, it's going to adversely impact your chances of landing the job. So say what's real to you, but the reality is the more flexibility you can offer them, the better. The last question here is, how would your former colleagues describe your personality? I love this question. I think it's a great question. I think it's important here to be truthful, in the sense that you don't want to say a bunch of things about you that aren't true and that later on they will find out are not true. That's not ideal. However, what you do want to do is share positive things. Like, my teammates would describe me as a person who is fun, energetic, and always willing to help. Nobody will look at that and go, oh, that's a terrible employee. That is a good employee. That's going to be a good fit for Trader Joe's. So say things that are applicable to you, that are truthful, that are also in line with the role, with the company, their brand, and what this person is going to need to exemplify in the role. If you can do that, you'll do great. Hey, this video is done, but do you remember that first question? That very first one, why do you want to work at Trader Joe's? Well, that is the most important interview question you are going to be asked. Well, in this video here, I'm going to give you several different ways that you can answer that interview question to stand out as an amazing candidate. Again, there is not a single interview question that you will get asked that is more important than that one, so you want to make sure that you absolutely crush it and stand out as the most hireable candidate for the role. So go watch this one now.